this is not a new concept because everybody in the book community probably have done this one way or another. But for 2026, I thought I would have my own TBR jar. The reason why I don't have a TBR jar is because I am a mood reader, and if I'm not in the mood to read it when it comes times to read it, I will definitely be on a reading slump. It will take me such a long time to read the book. But this TBR jar is a little bit different. I just started reading again in the beginning of 2025, but then I also consume a lot of bookish content on social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. I watch them sometimes for research purposes, but also just for entertainment purposes. And that is also how I heard about books, heard about authors that I've never heard of before. And that is also mainly the reason why I have so many books unread behind me. I know you can't really see it, but basically on the top of my bookshelf, that is where I put the book that I physically have that I have read, and everything else is the books that I haven't read before. This is my collection, and I am trying so hard to work through them. I'm gonna try and see if I can put myself on a book buying ban for 2026, but to be honest with you, I am weak and I don't think I can do it. But anyways, to kind of combat that addiction of book shopping but also can't really read as fast as I can, I have put 50 book titles in this TBR jar, and I think every single month I'm gonna try and pick at least 3 books from this jar, and hoping that I will be able to actually read that book that I pick for that month. But I thought in today's video it'll be fun to kind of do a rapid fire, just randomly picking up the book titles from this jar, so you have an idea of what 50 book titles that I've added to this jar. I just made a pasta, I think, a couple nights before I have this idea, and I was like, I'm just gonna use my pasta sauce jar, and then voila, I have a TBR jar. So let's just go ahead and pick a few. Maybe let's pick 20, 25, depending on how fast or slow I'm going through this, and let's just talk about books. All right, I'm just gonna pick random paper. I'm obviously gonna put it back because I'm gonna hopefully read these books in 2026. But anyways, the first clip that I pick is For the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I read, I want to say, a couple of her books, maybe just one book this year, but I do love her writing. I know that her books are popular for good reasons, and Evelyn Hugo is probably one of the most popular book that she maybe ever had. Maybe not. Atmosphere, I feel like it's kind of taking the first place maybe, but I know that people have talked so much about Evelyn Hugo in so many of the videos that I have watched in the past year. So hopefully 2026 is gonna be the year where I'll be reading this book. That was kind of fun. Okay, I think I need to go a little bit faster if I want to pick 20 or 25 books. Okay, the next book that I have is Shatter Me by Tara Muffy. Again, I have heard so many great things about this series. I don't know if you can see it, but I do have the books here. I have the first 3 books in the series: Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me. I was watching this one YouTuber, her name is Belle Therese. I think she's from Australia. She said to read the first 3 books first in the series, which is what I already have. And she was saying that if you love the characters or any of the characters from those 3 books, you should continue with the next book in the series, because I think the next book after the 3rd book is just gonna be a little bit more character based or something like that. I'm not really sure and not really familiar with this book series, but I definitely want to at least start with the first book next year. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, this jar is a bit too small for like my hand to fully go inside and pick a slip of paper, but it will work, I think. All right, this one is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Sevin. This book is another one that people have talked about so much, at least in the past year. I think this book is about 2 friends who created games together, and I think it's just kind of a story about how their company or their gaming company comes about. Other than that, I don't really know a lot about the book. It's like almost everyone's favorite book, at least the booktubers that I watch, and I'm just curious on why this book is so good. Okay, that's the third one. This is kind of exciting. I also have a list of these books on my Google Sheet just so I know which books I've done or which book I've put in the jar. This one is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book is also super popular. It's a sci-fi book and it's gonna be adapted to a movie, and the main character is gonna be Ryan Gosling. I love Ryan Gosling. Okay, from The Notebook. I feel like this movie is gonna be good just because of how popular Ryan Gosling is, and also how he is such a great actor. And also this book, again, people have talked about it so much, and I know another of Andy Weir's book has been adapted to a movie, The Martian. I'm not sure if it has the same movie title, but anyways, people have talked about this book so much. I actually bought a physical book probably a couple months ago, and I wanted to get the original cover. I know that once the movie release date gets closer, the movie tie-in cover is gonna be the ones that are out there at stores and online, so I wanted to get the original cover before that happens. Let's see how fast we can go through some of these books that I put in the jar. Okay. The next one is Side by Neil Shusterman. So this is, I think, a dystopian young adult book series. There are, I believe, 4 in the series, and I have purchased the box set, so I have all of the books. I think this book is about our society, I believe, or maybe a different one, I don't know. But basically, the society have conquered death, so nobody can die, I think. Everybody is immortal. However, they still have to kind of keep up with the population, so there are still gonna be a chosen group of people who will die eventually, and the side is the group of people who would choose which one is going to die. And I think there's 2 characters in this book series who are chosen to be an apprentice of a side, and I don't think they want to be side, but for some reason they are chosen. I don't really know a lot more about the book other than that, but honestly I'm kind of excited. I've heard, again, great things about Neil Shusterman and also about the book series, so I cannot wait to hopefully read the first book next year. This is book number 6, and it is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. This book has been talked about so much around the time that it was released. I think in the spring of 2025. I believe it's about a couple of skaters. I don't think they're figure skaters. There's ice skaters or something. I heard about someone talking about the difference between the two. I'm not really sure, but anyways, this one is a story about the couple who are partner in this ice skating competition ever since they were little, I believe. And then now that they're all grown up and retired, I think someone is doing kind of a documentary about their career and their professional life and all of that. So it's just kind of, you know, a story about this couple, and I think there's a lot of drama. But again, because this book was so popular, I'm also pretty intrigued to read it, because I honestly love those figure skating movies back in the day, like The Cutting Edge, I think that's what it's called, from like late 80s or early 90s. I love that movie. Ever since I watched that movie, I just love anything figure skating and stuff like that. But hopefully this will be my next favorite book. Next book is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This book is actually part of the romance book series that I want to start next year. It is the first book in the off-campus series. Again, so many people love this book series. I felt left out that I haven't read anything by Elle Kennedy, to be honest. And I thought this book would be a great start to read Elle Kennedy. And hopefully if I like the off-campus series, I will look into her other book series, because I think she has at least 3 book series, maybe even more. And the off-campus series, I heard it's going to be adapted to a TV show. So I want to read it before it got adapted. And also, this book is about, I believe, 4 girls, and the love interest characters are part of a college hockey team, I believe. I might be wrong, but if you're familiar, let me know in the comment below. Again, super excited to read this next year. All right, this next one is Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. This book, I decided to put it in my TBR jar because I think I bought it early on in 2025. It has this distinct layout of the book cover, and I think her other books that came out after Funny You Should Ask have the same layout, so you can definitely identify it right away that those books are by Alyssa Sussman. And this book is about, I think, a journalist who had a famous interview with this one actor back in the day. They spent the weekend together and they had a good time, but for some reason they kind of lost touch, and then she was married and have been divorced. And then after like, I don't know, a decade or something, a lot of people are asking her about this weekend with this famous actor and all of that. And I think she's trying to kind of connect back with him and just, you know, start their friendship again or something like that. But it's just very interesting. And any book that has like an actor or anybody in the entertainment industry, like a musician or an actor, I would love to read it. So that's why I decided to add this to the 2026 TBR jar, and hopefully I will pick this up next year. This next one is The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hilderbrand. I've actually never read anything by Ellen Hilderbrand before, and I know her Nantucket theme books are pretty famous, and I want to say The 5-Star Weekend is also set in Nantucket, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, this is about a woman who is famous for her cooking show or her recipes online. She actually is happily married, but I think in the beginning of the book, her husband got into a car crash when they were fighting. Like, he was leaving for the airport and they were arguing about something, and on the way to the airport he got into a car accident and he died. And to help her kind of like grieve her husband, she invited, I believe, 4 of her friends from different phase of her life for a 5-star weekend. I think it's a friend from college, high school, and also like a woman who's actually been following the main character's career online, and they kind of got together for one weekend. Of course, some drama happens, and I don't know, there's just a bunch of little things that happen during this weekend, and I just feel like that is super interesting, and it just piqued my interest to finally pick up one of Ellen Hilderbrand books. This is gonna be book number 10, and we're already at 20 minutes. Okay, next book is Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. So when I first started reading again in the beginning of 2025, I heard about Jessie Q. Sutanto. I don't remember from where, but basically I found out that she is an author from Indonesia. She is based in Jakarta, I think, right now, but she actually went around the world almost for her education. I think she went to a boarding school in Singapore and graduated there, and then she went to the UK for her college education, and I guess at the end she decided to become an author. It was just kind of piquing my interest too, because how did someone who is based from Indonesia can have a lot of books that are sold here in the US? And she just kind of talked about how she found an agent that is US based instead of, you know, based in Asia, and that is how basically her writing career took off in the US. And it was just very interesting to learn that someone from Indonesia is actually a pretty famous writer here in the US. So I just want to read a little bit more about her books. I kind of started reading Farah Wong, the first book, a few months ago, and I was really in the mood for a cozy mystery. This one, I believe, is also a mystery but with like some humor and like a wedding as the main theme. So I cannot wait to read this book. I have all 3 books in the series already, and I know that I need to start at least reading one of her books because I have pre-ordered her newer books as well that came out, I believe, today. I will put it here. I forgot what the title is called. I think it was This Is Now Our Turn or something like that. Hopefully I'll be able to read more of her books next year and start with the Dial A for Aunties series. Let's book 5 more books because it's gonna be too long for me to edit all of these books. Oh my gosh, We'll do like a part 2 or something. All right, next book is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. This book, I think I've heard about it probably in the beginning of 2025. It probably came out last year, I believe. Maybe not, maybe a couple years ago, because I know it's been adapted to a show, and Brie Larson is the one who plays the main character in this book. It is historical fiction. It is about a woman, I think in the 1960s in America. I think she is a scientist. She used to work in a lab, but something happened with that where she can't really find work, and then she ended up having a cooking TV show. I think that's what happens. And then I have seen clips of the TV show adaptation where all of the audience of her show is obviously a woman in the 60s, and there's this one woman who was saying that she's been wanting to become a doctor, but obviously she cannot do it now because she's married with kids and a husband to take care of. But then the main character, I forgot her name, but she was basically encouraging this woman in her show to pursue that. And I think next year she came back to watching the show in the studio and tell the main character that she is in medical school. So it was just a very interesting storyline. I'm hoping to again read it next year. I just want to know and find out what happened throughout the book. Did she like encourage even more women and maybe create a movement for women in the 60s? 4 more books. I think that's book 11. Oh gosh. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna pick it. Book 11, 12, 13, 14. All right. So this next book in my TBR jar is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I know that she has some controversy this past year. She talked about how she uses AI for research and also I think for writing some of her books. However, I heard a few people that I watch on YouTube who love this series so much. I know it's a toxic relationship between Magnolia and, was it BJ? I think that's the male main character's name. And basically they love each other, but then they also cheated on each other a lot. And it's just a story about all of this drama. I think it's kind of like Gossip Girl, where both of them are from rich families and all of that. So I do have the first 4 books in the series because Book Outlet had a sale and they have all of the books in stock, so I decided to get them. However, I'm gonna give this first book a try, see if I like it. If I do, then I will continue, and if not, then I guess I'll donate the books. I was just super curious and I just wanted to read it for myself just to see why are people such like a big fan of this series. Okay, book number 12, I think, if I counted correctly. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This book is the first book on the, what is it, Shepherd King duology. I do have the books up here and I wasn't really planning to read this book, but I feel like the past few months I have heard so many people talk about how great this duology is. I don't really know how many books that she has written that have been published that are out there, but I know this duology has been pretty popular or picking up on its popularity the last few months, and I decided to get them because I want to read more fantasy dystopian books, and if I've heard that these books are great, then hopefully I will like it. Book number 14 is The Striker by Anna Huang. I've actually never read any of Anna Huang's books before, and in my romance book series that I want to start that I probably posted last week, I have put Twisted Love, which is the first book in the Twisted series, in the whole pile. But I know that she has, I believe, 2 other book series, this one and another one called the King of Sin series or something like that, and I decided to add this just in the mix, so maybe if I don't pick up Twisted Love, I will pick this one up from the TBR jar because I have heard so many great things about Hannah Huang's and her book series, and I just want to start at least either from the TBR jar or from just picking up Twisted Love hopefully next year. All right, last but not least, book number 15 is Margot's Got Money Trouble by Ruthie Thorpe. This is a general fiction book that was probably released maybe in 2024, but it is getting a movie adaptation that should be coming out pretty soon because I think the filming has wrapped. Elle Fanning is Margot, which is the main character in this book. The premise of this book is actually pretty interesting. Honestly, I'm surprised that I remember, but I think Margot had a relationship with one of her professors in college and ended up being pregnant. This is accidental pregnancy trope, and I know that not all people love that, but this is not a romance book, so maybe it will be a better like storyline, I don't know. But anyways, she got pregnant. She decided to keep the baby, and I'm pretty sure she dropped out of college because she wants to take care of the baby. And in order for her to make enough money for her little family, she decided to, I think, do OnlyFans. I'm pretty sure that's what she did, or you know, one of those for adult only social media where she can make quick buck basically. While she's kind of planning to do that, I think her dad, who she never really talked to, came back to her life and offered to help her take care of the baby as well. I know that they filmed some of the movie in Las Vegas, so I wanna know how that relates from reading the book before watching the movie. And again, this book, people talk about it so much. They love the book, they highly recommend it, so I am just curious to see how this book will unfold, what the story is like, and I cannot wait to read it next year. Let me just count the little slip that I took out to make sure there are 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there are 15 slips that I took out, and I am pretty sure I put in 50. So maybe next time I am going to go through the next 15 books in the TBR jar to just kind of share with you what are some of the book titles that I am planning to read in 2026. And hey, if you want to do something like this as well, feel free to do so. I know like the prom TBR is popular, actually maybe way more popular than just putting book titles in the jar. I just feel like the prompt might be fun, but it might take me a long time to decide on the book that would fit the prompt, and this way I just know directly which book I should be picking up for the monthly reading that I'm planning to do for 2026. But anyways, those are all of the 15 books, or the first 15 books in the TBR jar. I definitely will do maybe a part 2 and part 3